Alright, so kind of continuing off where I left off last week, I watched the rest of Angel Beats and I quite enjoyed it. Now, one thing I noticed is there was a lot of stuff about it that I thought was incredibly funny, but didn't make me laugh for some reason. I don't know what's up with that. Highly amused by a lot of the jokes, though. So I wonder if I'm just desensitized to something there. And if this was like my first time viewing a lot of stuff, I would have been busting the gut laughing at it so hard or something like that. Is that the way the saying goes? I don't know. But my only complaint about the release is that because it goes from the ending of the series straight into the OVA, it goes from a rather touching ending to a something that's basically jumping right into the middle of the series, which is still kind of amusing, but at the same time, it's a bit unfortunate. You could probably watch the OVA anytime after you've got an idea of all the characters. No, there's probably a bit more to it than that. There are some things revealed in there that I wouldn't want people to discover before they got to those points in Angel Beats. So I'm wondering if maybe it makes sense to watch the OVA if you don't want to experience that same thing I did. It might make sense to watch it maybe just after the first disc, because I started watching it again with a friend, and I could be mistaken, but the end of the first disc may be around when it covered many of the major ideas of what would be important in that OVA, I guess. Hard to say. That's a lot of speculation, and I didn't research it ahead of time. Otherwise, you can always watch a series for what it is, and just remember that the OVA is its own little thing. Or maybe even take a break between the two, as people who watched the original series probably did. That may actually be the best solution. Let's see. After that, I immediately put on Sergeant Frog, and it still as entertaining as ever. Although the opening is different now, and while I actually still like the opening, I prefer the first opening still. Because I thought that one just kind of summed up my favorite characters the best. Otherwise, this one continues to be amusing. One thing I noticed while watching it, which is probably something I also noticed as I watched seasons 1 and 2 as well, is you can definitely tell that there's some subtle changes to try and make it hilarious to people who watch it. It's almost a bit like the Ghost Stories dub in that way, except that one was definitely going as over the top as it could while still trying to have a coherent storyline of sorts. So basically, character personalities were completely different, way more crazy and out there, and um, different backstory set up and whatnot. So it was so Ghost Stories was really crazy, and that's actually something that's really amusing about the dub. I don't know if everybody's fans of it, but I know that there is a subset of people out there who really like it because it's just so out there. Now, Sergeant Frog is not way out there. It is, I think it's actually done at a reasonable level where there are references that we probably wouldn't get that, they kind of change up just a little bit here and there, I think. And at the same time, there's also places where they don't really, well, it's really difficult to say exactly, but it felt like there are sentences where characters say something offhand that was probably not what they said in the original version. But if we were that anal about it, that would be what subtitles, subtitled Japanese audio would be for. And honestly, it's amusing enough. There are changes to make a funny series continue to be funny. So, I actually think it's enjoyable. And I'm continuing to enjoy Season 3. I'm looking forward to more of it. Let's see. I watched the first 2 discs of Naruto Shippuden box set 7, I think is what I have for this one. And let me try and remember what actually happened. Let's see, that. I think somebody was fighting. Yeah. It was interesting. It was in the middle of something important. In between discs 2 and 3. A certain battle with a character. It's its pacing is not super ideal, but I'd say that actually, in terms of how enjoyable the story is, it's probably better than the beginning half of Naruto before it went into complete filler mode, when it was not doing filler during that time, that is. So, it's definitely being enjoyable. Probably one more disc, and then I won't have much more to add on top of that, because, you know, you get too deep into a series, and it's really hard to articulate why you enjoyed something, because it's too easy to spoil things at that point. It's certainly building up to another interesting thing, although I do have some complaints that I just can't complain about without spoiling. So, I'll go on to the next series, and this one actually has some interesting things to talk about, and that would be Supernatural, the animation. So, for people who don't know, or for people who love recaps, the basic idea of Supernatural is there was some shows shown here in the U.S. It's about two brothers who travel around hunting demons, monsters, vampires, whatever, in a world that, of course, doesn't believe those kinds of things exist. So it's not like Trinity Blood in that way. But anyways, you know, that one's a very American show, and Supernatural, the animation, is definitely an anime version of, not exactly all of that, but the basic general ideas of part of that story, at least. I don't know how much of it came from that, but the basic idea is, well, when you watch Supernatural, the animation, before every single episode, the characters who played the actors who played the brothers in the original series, I think that's who they introduced themselves as. They're basically talking about the upcoming episode. Now, it's a very mixed feeling sort of introduction. Overall, before I talk specifically about them, the entire point of mentioning them here is that thanks to them, you can actually tell that some of the episodes from the series are adaptations of episodes from the original series, and some of them are unique specifically to the anime. And if you're wondering if that could call into question how animated actually it is, the truth of the matter is if you look at an episode of the anime, if you look at the credits at the very beginning of the show, it'll basically tell you that the original script was written by, and it gives you a name that's very clearly an English person, but then it follows that up with anime adaptation, or the edited version of the script, done by some very clearly Japanese name, and then directed by some very Japanese name. And for the definition of anime that people find most useful, generally the idea is, you know, it's not just something that is shown worldwide and is animated. Otherwise, you know, a lot of Disney stuff, you know, a Japanese company has to have a hand in it. But I think people understand that it's not just a hand like, oh, they outsourced the animation to this department. I think it also implies that the company also had some creative input into it. And that certainly seems the case with Supernatural, the animation. But that, coupled with the actors talking about the episodes and showing some interest and everything, I get the impression that a lot of Supernatural is, I mean, maybe Warner Brothers went to Japan and asked them to do this, but at the same time, I can't help but feel like the people in Japan were kind of fans of the series as well. Like, they thought it would be really awesome to be able to do this anime version of something from the U.S. Now, a lot of the story, plot elements and whatnot, and I think maybe some of the character interactions, I think there are definitely aspects of it that still feel like a U.S. show. But it's also possible that that's something I was looking for. So overall, I did enjoy it. It seemed to cover a complete relevant story, and I don't want to say too much about what exactly was covered so that you don't know what ended. And after a while, I had to start skipping the guys talking at the beginning because they revealed little plot twists about episodes that I would have rather not known in advance. So, even though it's been done back and forth, I almost wonder if the series is intended for people locally who have seen the original series. I'll probably know better whenever my friend gets around to watching it, if he does, because he was apparently a fan of the original series. It sounded like he was far enough where he got past anything the anime tried to cover. But since it's probably not going to come up in anime analysis, I might not remember to talk about it if he ever does talk about that. So maybe that's a good starting point to realize you have to find somebody else's opinion out there. You may have to go outside the anime community. And if I had to say any one episode was my favorite, I actually really liked the lake episode. So, let's see, what else did I watch? I went over this before I started this, but there was some haze. I guess it was just, I started watching Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood Part 5 Disc 1, or rather, I watched all of Disc 1, so that should be about 6 episodes down under the belt, and there's only 6 episodes left to go. And it's actually very exciting, entertaining, and feeling like it's maybe coming to a very relevant end. I'll have to see. I've got 6 more episodes, so I'm pretty close. If I watch 3 tonight and then 3 tomorrow morning, then before I leave for work, I could actually know if Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is a good thing. But how much sleep do I sacrifice doing that? I don't know. All I know is it's been enjoyable. And I'm looking forward to finishing it. And that, I guess, ends anime analysis.